I'm back at this part on part 2 of chapter 2. I did the first part. And I want to go straight into the office of the king with Daniel and the king talking about the decision that the king made. Daniel went and got permission from the king to hold up for a minute. Then he went back to his apartment and he called his brothers, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, so we need to talk about what's going on. So they said, we're going to take this before God because God knows all the secrets. He knows what's in the dark. He knows the deep secrets. He knows everything. And we're bold enough to ask God exactly what we need. I mean, on a normal side, who can do what the king asked? But the king asked. But I want to stop right here for a minute. And I want to talk about why Daniel, why Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Why? See, one thing about God's presence inside of a man, if they ever come into one, God has put inside of you that cannot be compared to anybody else. Once you leave the presence of God, you can work anywhere. And I say that because Daniel had something already that the king determined that nobody else had it but Daniel. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, we're going to find out more about them. So I said, in my own life, wherever I am, because of who's on the inside of me, it's not me. It's who I work for. It's who I honor. It's who I submit to. So what happened was Daniel went to the king and the king gave him permission to go back home and pray. And then he went into the mercies of God. He didn't go in there saying, I deserve this and I think you need to do this. And I saw you do this before. He went in there and just said, Lord, we need an answer. You know every secret thing. You know where every hidden thing is. And like I said before, God created light for us. Light was in him, but he could see in the dark. But he knew he was making man, so he said, let there be light. So after Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego prayed, then Daniel said to the master of the ones to be slain, the guy that was getting ready to kill everybody, he said, hey, I call him Mr. A. He said, Mr. A, he said, go tell the king that I need to see him. I got the answer. Because I went home and then late that night, I prayed. But later on that night when I was about to go to sleep, and I had a vision and God showed me exactly what this dream is all about. And so the master ran into the king hastily. And he told the king, he said, Daniel, I got somebody that can represent from them folk over there, them people that we got captives, them believers, them children of Israel, you know. And the king said, send him in. So Daniel went into the king's office. The door closes. And Daniel sat there with all the respect that he was taught to have. He said, I got it. And the king said, okay. And Daniel began to tell the king the dream, and the dream went like this. He said, King, he said, the first part of that dream was the head was made of gold. You saw this vision. And the statue or the head of this particular vision was made of nothing but solid gold. And then the shoulders, and I think it was the arms, was made of silver. So we got something a little less than gold. And then the body area was made of bronze. And the legs was made of iron. And the toes was made of clay and iron. Something that's going to be together, but it just won't mix. It's like a man and a woman is married, but one is hard and one is soft. And it's just they're together, but they're going to be divided. He said, then on the other side was a stone without anybody making it come out. It was cut out of a mountain. And that thing came in and pow, smashed that thing down to pieces. And the king was like, okay. And then Daniel said, but the thing that smashed, the reason and interpretation of that thing, that head, that's you, old king. And everybody that's going to come after you going to be inferior to you. But I want you to know that that thing that smashed all of the kingdom down, that thing is going one day, everything going to be submitted to him. He was talking about Jesus. He said that thing going to fill the earth. All of the things that the kings have done, you and everybody under you, it's going down. And the king said, the king bowed down to the servant, and the servant was the servant of God. And he began to worship Daniel and said, that's it. That's it. And see, this king Nebuchadnezzar was, if you did what was right, he rewarded you. If you did what was not true, you had to die. So they called Daniel in. Let me check this out and make sure I get this part right. And so he called for the folk that had the right to put Daniel in leadership right down God's alley. But Daniel did tell the king, so let me tell you something. What I'm about to tell you, before he told him all that, he said, now look, this stuff didn't come from me. This came from God. So don't give me any credit, because whatever I say, I get it straight from the word. So if there be any glory, remember, always remember that anything that I have that's good, it came from God. Because if I could come to you on my own and tell you what I know, then I'll be just like the other folk that you almost killed. But the answer that I got from you, or for you, is the answer that I got from God. And let me just say this as I end this video. And the story goes on to say that the king gave Daniel the position much higher than what he was. But see, I look at this like God got a plan. He always trying to get us to go up in the government. Because if you ever notice that, everybody he uses, he promotes. You come from below, and then he raises you up to stand before kings. And the reason why you're going to stand before a king is because you got to get, he said, the government shall be on my shoulder. And I said it's on the shoulder, and it's me talking. It's because when he tells the government what to do, he ain't got father to talk, because they right there on his shoulder. And I think that Daniel started low. And then the king saw the excellency in him, and he promoted him and made that guy, elevated that guy until now Daniel had almost the same power he had. He said, all I can say is God had a plan when he said, let me incarcerate my loved ones. And then at the same time, he said, even in being incarcerated, even in your disobedience, you're still better than the rest because you've been with me. You almost like the people. I met this guy one time, and he worked for the government, and he knew so much until the government had to investigate anybody that he talked to, his neighbors, and he had to make sure, because they had put inside of him something that was a secret for the United States, so he couldn't afford to just be anybody's friend. So I said that God has put something on the inside of us, the believers, that's why he don't want you to go back outside and get mixed up with somebody, because until he worked through you and you take all of the good stuff that he has and try to pass it on, God said, no. I got to watch over you. I got to make sure that you understand that when you communicate, you got to know exactly what I said. And when I said, you got to give me credit. Because otherwise, they're going to try to, inflate your head. But Daniel took none of the credit, but he got all the blessings. Look at God. He does the work and then let you live off the increase. This book is so good. It says, then, the 46th verse, then Nebuchadnezzar fell on his face and worshiped Daniel. It's the king down. Is that the way it's supposed to be? When God is in it, the king fell on his face and worshiped Daniel. Then the king answered unto Daniel and said, of a truth, it is that your God is a God of God, lowercase g, and a Lord of kings, and a revealer of secrets, seeing thou couldst reveal this secret. And then the king made Daniel a great man, gave him many gifts, and made him ruler in the whole province of Babylon. That's all God trying to do. He's trying to get us in the word so we can go before the government and make changes and be principals of schools and be the head of education and be mayors of cities, because he said, if I could just get my people in there, then I can change this world. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have given you what was deposited in me. And that's the second chapter of Daniel and its fullness. Let me make sure I gave y'all everything, because I hate to leave out anything good. All right. And that's what happened. He set him up in a good way. Now, Daniel has been elevated. And as we move on to chapter 3, let's see what's going to happen next. It is going to be good. See you later. Bye-bye.